Hola, feliz viernes, I'm Rory, and today is Friday. It's a snowy day in Denver, but I'm glad to be here with you. Hoy es un día especial porque Caleb, mi hijo mayor, él tiene 12 años, está en séptimo grado, él entra octavo grado el próximo año. Siempre le decimos que cuando él tenga 13 años o que termine su octavo grado, que él pueda trabajar un viaje a Costa Rica. And some of you might not be catching this, but anyway, what I was saying is that it's a special day because my son Caleb, he's a 13-year-old, well, he'll be 13, and we've always told our kids that when they turn 13 and after they graduate 8th grade, they can help lead a trip to Costa Rica with some of their friends and other kids, middle schoolers around the country. So tonight we're actually hosting a fiesta. He doesn't graduate 8th grade this year. He's going into 8th grade, but we're hosting a planning fiesta with all of his friends this evening, and he's going to present what this whole middle school immersion program is going to be in the summer of 2018. So we're excited for that, and he's nervous and getting his little presentation ready to share with all of his friends and their parents. So anyway, it's a busy day for us. Ok, muy bien. Hoy nosotros hablamos verbos con cambios ortográficos. Cambios ortográficos, verbs with some spelling changes. And these are verbos that they have a spelling change for a handful of reasons. Oftentimes, it's just to make sure that when the verb is in a particular subject, it sounds like the original verb. We'll see some examples here. And then other times, the reason isn't 100% clear why there's a spelling change. So that's what we're going to look at today. So let's dive right in. Verbos ortográficos. Most of them happen in the yo form. In fact, all of the verbs that we're going to look at today, the spelling changes happen en la forma yo. Now, in la forma yo del presente, except for one case, which we've talked about before, the car-gar-zar verbs. We'll get there. It's maybe the third or fourth page here. All right, so let's dive in and see what we're talking about. We're talking about verbs that end in ger-gir, cer-cir, car-gar-zar, and Guir. Okay? And we'll see examples of each of these if you're totally lost. All right, muy bien. Starting with ger and gir verbs. Common verb, proteger, to protect. Proteger, elegir, to select or to choose. This is a stem changer, so we'll see that happen throughout the verb also. So proteger, we've got la forma tú, proteges. Looks normal. Él, ella, usted, protege, normal. Nosotros protegemos, normal. Ellos protegen, totalmente normal. But la forma yo, what happens if we just put a G-O here? Does it sound like proteger anymore? It doesn't. The G-O sound has a G sound, so it'd be protego. And protego doesn't sound like the original sound of the verb, proteger. And so we need to give it a softer, more of an H sound. How do you do that? Well, protejo. So, este verbo, protejo, has a spelling change. In la forma yo, it goes to J, ¿verdad? All right, that's what's going to happen here also. Elegir is a stem changer, like we said. So we have elige, eliges, elige, elegimos. Remember, there's never a stem change in la forma nosotros, right? And by the way, we're referring to the present tense here. Eligen. Okay, all this looks normal. But again, what would happen here if we just kept the G and added the O like we normally do for present tense? It'd be eligo. And eligo doesn't sound like the original sound here of elegir. Remember, G-E and G-I have this H sound in English, right? So we have this, so proteger, elegir. If we have a G-O, then we have a G sound. G-A, G sound, and G-U, G sound. So we have to conserve this H sound here somehow, which is why we will also have the J there, elijo. Okay, bien. Now, this spelling change is going to affect usted commands, mandatos, and el subjuntivo. Why? Because both the usted commands and the subjuntivo are based on the yo form of present tense verbs. We've talked about this in other lessons, but in order to form the command, it's a three-step process, starting with the yo form of the present tense of the verb, ¿verdad? So, the first step is to take the yo form, drop the o, and add the opposite ending. So when you go to the yo, protejo, drop the o, you end up with protege, and then add the opposite ending. This is an ER verb. ERs and IRs always have an E in the ending somehow, ¿verdad? They usually have E's in the ending. Oh, there's the ending there. So they always have E's in the ending. The opposite then is going to be an A. So, proteja is our verbo. Proteja. That's the usted command. Proteja. The ustedes command. Protejan. Protejan. You just add the end to it to make the ustedes command. So, proteja y protejan. Bien. Now the subjunctive is also based. Now, okay, if you're a beginner, forget about this now. If you're an intermediate, pay attention because it's coming. If you're advanced, this might help you get a little quicker with subjunctive conjugations. Bien? Okay, so again, beginners, check out here for a second. The subjunctive form of the verb is based on also this same usted command conjugation, and which is then linked back to the yo form. So you go to the yo, drop the yo, add the opposite ending. This becomes our base for the subjunctive. And so we have yo proteja. Tu protejas. Proteja. Protejamos. And protejan. Okay, so those are the subjunctive conjugations in the present tense, present subjunctive. So we would do the same for elegir. Elija, elijas, elija, elijamos, elijan. Okay? Proteger, just to give some examples. Proteger es el verbo to protect. When you make it reflexive, protegerse, that is the common way to talk about using protection with intimate relationships. Entonces, protegerse is synonymous with, use a condom or use some sort of protection. Entonces, es importante, jumping down to the subjunctive, es importante que usted se proteja. Es importante que usted se proteja. We have es importante que, and so that's kind of a subjunctive trigger. Usted, change in subject, es importante que usted se proteja. Okay, bien. Bien. All right. Moving on to cer and cir verbs. Dos verbos aquí, ofrecer, the verb to offer, and introducir, the verb to introduce. However, it has a very specific meaning in Spanish, introducir. Introducir is to introduce, like put something inside of something else. So you don't really introduce your friends or your coworker to someone else, because that just is a weird image. But anyway, you introduce like a catheter into the vein. You introduce a scope into your digestive tract or something like that. You put something inside something else. That's what introducir tends to mean in Spanish. If you want to introduce a person, that's present, presentar. So don't mix those up, it sounds funny. Bien, ofrecer, the verb to offer. The to form, ofreces, él, ella, usted ofrece, nosotros ofrecemos, ellos, ellas, ustedes ofrecen. Sounds normal, right? Okay, well, what's going to happen here is in order to, if we were just to put the O there, ofreco, if it was just a CO, it would sound like ofreco. And that, of course, does not sound anything like the original sound here of cer. So we end up with Ofrezco, a ZCO ending. So ser verbs get zco, ofrezco. And cir, introducir, introduzco, introduzco, the same. So ser and cir verbs get ZCO. And you maybe are familiar with the verb conocer, to know a person or to know a place, right? To have met a person or to have traveled or been in that place. That's conocer. Yo conozco, yo conozco. I know this or that person. See, yo conozco. ZCO, conocer. Ofrecer, to offer. Bien, mandatos y subjuntivo. Again, these are based on the yo form of the present tense. Entonces, we go to the yo, we drop the yo, we add the opposite ending. So here's our yo. Ofrezco and introduzco. We're going to drop the yo and add the opposite ending. So we end up with the command to offer this, offer that. Ofrezca, or ofrezcan if it's the usted form, right? And then introduzca or introduzcan if it's the usted command. Now, subjunctive form, again, beginners, feel free to check out now. And to do the conjugations del subjuntivo, let's just go with ofrecer. Yo ofrezca. Tú ofrezcas. Él, ella, usted ofrezca. Sorry about that. That's an ezca there. Ofrezcamos and ofrezcan. Okay, bien. Subjunctive. I doubt that they will offer you XYZ. Yo dudo, trigger for subjunctive. Yo dudo que, changing subject now, ellos, yo dudo que ellos le ofrezcan. Yo dudo que ellos le ofrezcan un descuento, a discount. Yo dudo que ellos le ofrezcan un descuento. All right, muy bien. Cer-cir, casos especiales. All right, we just did cer and cir, and we had a ZCO ending. But there are some casos especiales with these ending verbs. So, in the caso especial is when un consonante precede cer and cir. Is when there's a consonant right before the cer or the cir. If you looked here, in these examples, these were vowels that preceded cer and cir. But now we're talking about verbs where there's a consonant that precedes cer and cir. Like convencer, the verb to convince. And esparcir, the verb to spread. Okay, bien. Like propagate, ¿verdad? Spread. So, vamos a ver. Convencer, convences, convence, convencemos, convencen. Esparces, esparce, esparcimos, esparcen. In this case, we don't have a C. We just have the Z. So, convenzo, convenzo, esparzo. So, previously we had a C in there to make it conozco or ofrezco, ¿verdad? Introduzco with a C, but now it's just a ZO in these endings when there's a consonant that precedes the CIR. Okay? Bien. This consonante que precede. Okay, so commands and subjunctive. You can probably do these commands now. We've done it a few times. Go to the O, drop the O, add the opposite ending. Beginners, you can do this. Go to the O, drop the O, add the opposite ending. This is the usted command. Convenza. Or convenzan if you're giving a command to a group of people, ¿verdad? And esparza or esparzan. Okay. You can probably also start with the subjunctive too. Convenza. convenzas, convenza, convenzamos, and convenzan. Okay. Perfecto. Continuamos. Car-gar-zar verbs. We've talked about this in a handful of lessons already. We've talked about it in a command lesson, and we've talked about it in a preterite lesson. So just by way of review, we are focusing now on the preterite tense, not the present tense, preterite past tense. So, buscar, we have tú buscaste, él, ella, usted buscó, nosotros buscamos, ellos buscaron. Apagar, this is the verb to look for. By the way, it is to look for, not just to look. And so you never need to say por after it. I hear a lot of times buscar por. No es necesario en la mayoría de los casos, just buscar. Yo busco, if it's a person, you'll put a there. Yo busco a mi esposa. Where is she? Yo busco a mi esposa. She's at yoga class. All right, muy bien. Apagar, the verb to turn off. Apagaste, apagó, apagamos, apagaron. Following normal rules of the preterite tense. Empezar. Empezaste, this is the verb to begin, right? Empezaste, empezó, empezamos, empezaron. Okay, now what happens with the yo form in the preterite tense of car-gar-zar verbs? Well, they all have a slightly different change to them. Car goes to que. So it's yo busqué. Yo busqué, I looked for. Gar goes to que. So car goes to que, gar goes to que, and zar goes to se. Empecé. So I began, empecé. I turned off, apagué. I looked for, busqué. All right, so the mandatos and the subjuntivo. Now, mandatos are based on the yo form of the present tense, and so is the subjunctive. It's not based on the preterite tense, but we get into the same problem. You see, the issue here is that this verb has a k sound to it. Buscar, right? And so when we put it in the preterite tense, if we were just to have B-U-S-C-E with an accent, we wouldn't have the k sound anymore. We would just have busé. And that doesn't sound like buscar. And so what we have to do is make it busqué with the Q-U-E. Same's going to happen with our commands. Remember, the yo form of buscar is busco. We drop the O and then we add the opposite ending. It's an AR verb, so we're going to add an E. We're back to having a busé kind of sound, and that doesn't sound like buscar. And so what it's going to end up being, it's going to end up being busque. That's the command. Busque. Look for this. Busque. Apague. Apague. Apague la luz. Turn off the light. Apague la luz. Empezar. Now, you notice that there was no stem change in the preterite because there are only a handful of stem changers in the preterite tense, and that's a small handful of IR verbs in the preterite have stem changes. No other verbs have stem changes. So, but in the present tense, it does have a stem change. What's the present tense of empezar? Empiezo. So we have empiezo, drop the O, add the opposite ending, and we have to end up with empie. Now, if we were just to, it's going to be empiece. This one, that's a C. This one makes a little less sense because a ZE should have that same se sound, but somehow, somewhere along the line in the development of the language, it made sense to change this to a C. Okay, bien. Entonces, subjuntivo is based on all of these. Busque, busques, we'll just do buscar. So, la forma yo is busque, busques, busque, busquemos, and busquen. Okay, bien. Continuando. One last spelling change with some verbos, and it's verbs that end in G-U-I-R. Guir. Like a common verb, seguir, the verb to follow. This is a stem changer as well, and so we have sig in our stem of the verbo. So sigues follows the rules. Sigue, seguimos, siguen. Again, no stem change in nosotros, right? But aquí tenemos, if it were a normal verb, it would be sigo, G-U-O. And that's just not how you say it. It's sigo. So you just add an O. So Guir verbs just get a go ending at the end. Sigo. All right. So mandatos, again, based on the yo form of the present tense. And so we end up with the command like follow me. Siga is the command. Siga. If it's usted, it's sigan, right? Ustedes. Sigan. But this is the usted command, siga, and ustedes sigan. Now the subjunctive, we're going to do the same thing. Yo siga, tú sigas, siga, él, ella, usted siga, nosotros sigamos, ellos sigan. An example here, I want you to follow me. I want subjunctive trigger. That you, change in subject, is the right formula for subjunctive. Yo quiero que usted siga a mí, or yo quiero que usted me siga. All right, muy bien. That's all we have for today. We've got cer-cir, ger-gir, car-gar-zar, and Guir verbs. And these are some verbos that have orthographic or spelling changes and la forma yo, which then impacts the mandatos and the subjuntivo. Thanks for joining me today. It is a Friday, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And keep up the good work speaking español with your pacientes. Remember your limits. Make sure that you are getting help when you need it, because that's responsible. But your effort in Spanish really does make a difference with your patients. Hasta luego. Hey, thank you for joining me today on this Video Viernes lesson. I wanted to invite you to join our community if you're not a member of the Facebook group already, that I deliver these live lessons in on most every Friday. And also point you to the website where you can find a bunch more information about medical Spanish, whether that be courses or free materials for you, or finding a private tutor to work with you online or face-to-face. And also let you know about some amazing Spanish immersion programs, either you as a medical person or your significant other as working in some other industry, or your family. If you want to improve your Spanish and you have time and budget to go do some travel, our programs are pretty amazing. I think it'd be fun to work with you. And finally, if you have some document work at your clinic or at your hospital or within your setting that needs to be professionally translated, shoot me a message, upload your document to us, and we can get you a quick quote and help you out with your Spanish language documents as well. Have a great day.